If you're my lover, would you spank me good, throw me down on the bed and kick me in the nuts? Anyways, speaking of getting violated, I want to talk about this. So, apparently with the new, this is Destiny 2, I don't know what you'd call this, theory maybe? I don't know, theory is not really the right word, but whatever. With the new faction thing that they added, there was apparently, is I should say, a bunch of stuff around the tower that you can scan. Well, apparently there's some debate about what each of those things mean, and I had an idea, and I want to discuss it, because, well, first off, let's talk about each of the factions. There's 3 factions. You have, let's start with New Monarchy. Now, let's look at the location of each of these 2. And now, if you go to New Monarchy, they have this nice little area. There's like these tapestries and these couches and these fancy rugs, and they got all their little gear, and they're all like whatever. Now, I think the factions are basically a metaphor for life in a way. So you have New Monarchy, which would be your like British kings and queens and all that bullshit. And if you look at where they're located versus where the other 2 are located, and it's the same thing in Destiny 1 as well, you could almost say that, you know, quote unquote, across the ocean, and I'm doing air quotes, across the ocean are the other 2. In other words, across, way on the other side, are the other 2 factions. So that's what I think. Like I said, I think each one is a metaphor for life. I think the hangar, where the other 2 are located, is representation of, let's say, America. So in other words, you have like your over the ocean is your monarchy, New Monarchy, and then you've got Future War Cult and Dead Orbit. Now, there's an interesting fact about those 2. Future War Cult, and same thing in Destiny 1, they tend to be up above. Like you have to climb stairs to get up, and they're up like upstairs, where Dead Orbit is downstairs. So you have one group that's higher than the other. Now let's talk about Future War Cult. Well, just say the name, Future War Cult. War Cult. What group in America do you think Future War Cult would represent? It would be your Republicans, who constantly want to go to war with everybody. John McCain wants to go to war with everybody. Lindsey Graham wants to go to war with everybody. Donald Trump wants to go to war with everybody. So Future War Cult, it's a cult of war. And they're in this little bunker up above everybody else. So they'd be your Republicans. Your Dead Orbit would be your lowly... because what's interesting about Dead Orbit, they don't even have an area. They're just hunkered down in the middle of nowhere. Same thing in Destiny 1. They were just kind of in a corner. Well, the other 2 had their own little sections and their own little areas. And the same thing with Destiny 2. So, now, what's interesting about Dead Orbit is they want to colonize space. They kind of have their heads in the clouds, and they're kind of like, which would be your Democratic Party. So if you contrast the 2 and look at them as Democrat, Republican, it's kind of interesting. Now, the only wrinkle to that is that if you look at Future War Cult, most of their gear is gay, as in it has like the rainbow flag. So I don't know if you could work that in there, because obviously the Republicans aren't like all too keen on the gays and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that, I don't know. But if you look at the different scannable objects that are now in the tower, you see that Future War Cult, aka the Republicans, or aka, the whatever, they are stockpiling weapons and food, and they're stockpiling their stuff. Like, well, basically like Glenn Beck, like a crazy Republican, like, oh my God, we gotta get the bunker, and we gotta get the bucket of food, and we gotta, get our guns and all that shit. they're kind of hoarding their own stuff. Another one says that the character Hawkthorne, something to do with she stole from New Monarchy, which would be like you're rich. So what I think is happening, I think all the factions are kind of not necessarily at war, but they're kind of against each other. Like one is spying on another one's stealing from another one, the other one's hoarding a bunch of stuff. Again, if you scan these different things, you'll discover that. So I think Dead Orbit is quote-unquote stealing from New Monarchy, aka the poor stealing from the rich. I think there's a metaphor there. Because, again, Dead Orbit has nothing. Okay, they have nothing. They're basically just hunkered down in a little section that just nobody was doing anything. They're like, oh, let's just stand here. They're basically loitering, is what they're doing. Because, like I said, New Monarchy has its own little section, its own little room. It's basically a room. Future War Cult has their own little room that's up above Dead Orbit. So, I think there's a metaphor for life there. I think there's a metaphor for, like, the different opinions, the rich versus the poor, so on and so forth. And I don't know. But again, if you scan all that stuff, you'll realize what each one is doing. Like I said, one is hoarding stuff. That's your Future War Cult. They're hoarding their gear. They're basically, I don't know exactly what's in it, but you see like these crates and it's got their logo on it and stuff. Like I don't know what goods that they have, because the whole point of the whole faction thing right now is you're going through and you're destroying other faction stuff. That's why you get the tickets every time you blow up those little crates, or get those little medallions or whatever they are, coins or whatever the fuck they are, because you're basically sabotaging the other group's stuff. So yeah, they're definitely going to war with each other. Well, not war, but they're like one is spying on one, like the CIA is kind of spying or whatever. So again, I think Dead Orbit is stealing. Dead Orbit with Hawkthorne, or in regards to Hawkthorne, is stealing from New Monarchy, which is again the poor stealing from the rich, kind of a idea, like a Robin Hood kind of a deal. And then again, you got Future War Cult, who is in the little bunker up above everybody else, where it's like, oh, we're high and mighty, we're important, So I don't know. Anyways, that's my idea, and I just want to throw it out there. So, whatever.